Let me in, coach.
I feel like the lazy line was directed right at me.
Hey, you want to play poker? I know we're gonna set one up online.
There you go.
I'll be there digitally.
I know Jason said this. Waivers are important. And you know this firsthand because a big part of your championship run was losing Ingram and instantly signing Hightower, not Spiller, not another option there. And Hightower ends up with pretty much the best week for a running back.
Yep.
This past week. He might be, he's a big reason why you're wearing that robe.
Hightower,
Huge reason.
Hightower is a fantasy footballer's favorite because we were breaking that news on Twitter to get Hightower when everyone thought to get Spiller. So a lot of championships. People have been tweeting us their rosters.
Jordan Reed, Tim Hightower,
Blake
Bortles,
Kirk Cousins.
Those
guys won a lot of people their championship
David
weeks.
Johnson?
And many of them
that guy.
were waiver wire pickups. So win your week this week. Who's it going to be? Let's tell you.
Let's talk about it.
Well, I'll tell you who's going to be playing this week. The Colts, because they can still make the playoffs.
Now, it's very easy for them to make the playoffs, right? Could you read maybe the scenario that they need?
Usually, you win and you're in. The Colts, they have just it's a little different for them. The scenarios, there's just a few more
Do they control their own destiny?
Sort of. Well, from the aspect of they do need to win, but then they also need Houston to lose. They need the Bengals to lose. They need Denver to win next week. Then they need the Jets to lose. They need New Orleans to lose. They also need Kansas City to lose. Then they need the Dolphins to beat the Patriots. Oh, and they also need the Steelers to win. So very plausible that the Colts are
division champs.
Still in it.
So
you're telling me there's a chance.
With Whitehurst on IR, Hasselbeck beat up from the feet up, and what is it, Stephen McGee? Is that what? Who's the backup?
I don't even know.
Honestly, I think Stephen McGee was the old Cowboys backup. I don't even know if I'm right about that.
I saw they were working out Josh Freeman. That's how bad things have gotten for the Colts.
Stephen Morris. Sorry, apologies to Stephen Morris.
Stephen McGee.
I still will say that was an old Cowboys quarterback. It's not good in Indianapolis. Is this how they saw the season going?
No.
When they were sitting there on draft day and they said, "Hey, we're going to draft Philip Dorsett and win a World Series." Do you think it to happen?
Yeah, that's like I was saying yesterday. That was maybe not the wisest choice when all of your quarterbacks are dying from getting hit.
They could still win the World Series. Probably not.
I think they have
probably
as
not
good
the
a
Super Bowl.
chance
Probably not the
of
Super
the
Bowl.
World Series as the Super Bowl.
All right, teams that can rest their players. We talked about Washington. That's a team that is likely to rest their players. Denver, I don't think we're going to see players rested.
They ended up winning.
Yeah, they ended up winning. Cincinnati needs to try to secure
a first week bye.
The bye. Now, Houston could theoretically rest players if some of those Colts scenarios don't go the way that the Colts won. So, for instance, if Houston's playing,
they're both in the morning though, so they won't know. So
the games are in the morning.
Well, the Texans and the Colts both play in the morning. So either way, those teams have to play.
Okay, and we don't have Saturday or Thursday games this week, so
Correct.
They will have to play. What about the situation with Kansas City and the Jets?
I believe that Kansas City could have controlled their own destiny if the Broncos had lost of stealing the division. That's less likely now. And the question comes for the Chiefs and the Jets. The lower seed, who did we figure it out? The lower seed will probably play Denver. So it's a question of are you trying to manipulate who you're going to play against? I don't think they will. I think the Chiefs will play everybody, and the Jets certainly have to play everybody because they're still trying to get in.
Now, that could be basically determined a little bit by the Jets playing earlier in the day and Kansas City playing in the afternoon.
Oh, really?
Because Kansas City is an afternoon game, and so that's something that I don't know if it's going to affect too much.
And the Steelers are in the morning as well?
Yes, they are.
So the Chiefs could – well, the Broncos are – can the Chiefs still win the division? That I don't know.
With the Broncos winning last night?
I don't think do they. I think if they win and the Broncos lose, maybe they still win the division. I have to pull up a
I'll look that up.
pull up a playoff scenario.
Yeah,
These things,
verify that one.
if you have not seen basketball, there is a scene in basketball where they're going through all the playoff scenarios. I feel like that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah, it looks like they can still win the AFC West.
Okay, so they're going to play. It's actually a very
It's a healthy week for Week 17.
yeah
people.
for a Week 17. Washington is the only team I can clearly state they're going to rest people. Everyone else, they might pull people out if they have a substantial lead. But other than Washington, I don't think that there's a team that's just going to punt the entire week.
Yeah,
and forfeit.
Kansas City can't punt because if Denver plays in the afternoon, and so if Denver loses, they win the division title. There's not a lot of situations. Pittsburgh's playing for their lives. The Jets are playing for their lives. Houston's still playing for their lives.
Yep.
Indianapolis is fighting with those long odds.
Minnesota and Green Bay are playing for the division.
Right. So really, there's not a lot of people who nothing happens to their situation if they were to, rest guys on the final week.
Right.
And there are teams like Arizona who, are still fighting for the number one seed.
Absolutely.
So, and they've already said they won't rest regardless.
And the Panthers luckily are playing for the number one seed as well. I mean, that would have been a problem if the Panthers had locked it up.
So let's look at some free agent options then. If most guys are available, we're not digging through too many, unless you're signing Alfred Morris or Matt Jones or somebody like that. At the wide receiver position, we did see a good week again from Devante Parker. We saw him perform well.
We did 4 for 93.
Yeah, so he's a bigger play guy, lower reception totals right now at this point in his career. So he's still a big risk to me. You know, he's a lot like Tyler Lockett. We saw Lockett come out and kind of not do much last week. Yes, he got a little banged up, but Parker can hit and Parker can miss.
Well, and when you're in the championship weeks, you have to have guys that can hit. There's no point in putting in a guy that's going to, he's got a guaranteed 5 points, but he could get
Bolden.
6 or 7. I'd much rather have a guy that can go out and lose me those 5 points, but give me 22, 25. That's what you need for championship week. And Devante Parker has that in a pinch. Hopefully you don't need him.
What do you guys think of Keshawn Martin with 11 targets from Brady last week?
Very interesting. You have to monitor the news of, is Edelman going to play this week? What do you guys have a feeling on Edelman? Because I think he might suit up this week, at least for part of the game.
I don't have enough of a feeling to see.
We got to wait on practice reports, but I think
he wants to play.
I think they'll
to
try
be
and get
primed for the playoffs,
and that's what I think. I think they'll try and get him some snaps, maybe not a full workload, but some snaps. Just take a first hit, get that out of the way.
Now Martin was the beneficiary of no Amendola and no Edelman, and needing another passing option. He had 7 for 68 in this game with the 11 targets that you said. If those guys are still out, is he worth a flyer?
Yes, if those guys
this is a big game for them too.
If those guys are out, he's definitely worth a flyer. They're not going up against the Jets this week, which means they're going to put up more points than they did this past week. The high-scoring Patriots offense should be back. I think Martin is a good play if those two guys are out, especially Amendola, because like you're saying with Edelman, if he's active, I'm not sure that they're going to just play him all game and really throw him back to the Wolves. So, but Amendola, if he's out, I like Martin.
And if they win the game, they have home field throughout the playoffs. If they lose, there's the potential that Denver takes that away from them. Denver's situation was so interesting last night because they could win the game and they're in play for the 1 seed. If they lose the game, they're in play to be out of the playoffs.
It's crazy.
Just an insane game. Well, let's move on here. Rueben Randle had a big week. He'll be at the top of your, scoring leader type of situation on your waiver wire. He's not somebody I have any confidence in.
No way. He was
Odell Beckham Jr. was out.
Yeah, Odell Beckham was out.
Yeah,
and he still didn't have that great a game other than his
one
touchdown.
play.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's the deal with Rueben Randle. I'm pulling up his game log so I can get it exactly right.
2 catches last week.
Yeah, absolutely 2 catches. But 1, 2, 3, 6, 7. Of the last 7 games, he's scored in 5 of them. So he is scoring, and maybe he's a lower catch type of guy right now. His targets aren't great. 5 or 6 targets in those weeks. But he's scoring, and the Giants are going up against Philadelphia. And we have seen what has happened in Philadelphia with their defense Last week, Kirk Cousins. The week before was the Cardinals. I mean, they're a dumpster fire right now, the Philly defense. So I don't think Randle is a terrible play this week.
All right, let's talk about some running backs that had big weeks last week. This Mike Gillislee keeps showing up.
He sure does.
In the box score with big plays. Now, there was another play. He was 9 for 92 and a touchdown. There was another play in this game where he scored, and then it got called back to the one, and Carlos Williams was the beneficiary. He's a low-carry guy with Carlos Williams carrying the mail.
He is now Carlos Williams. He is the Carlos Williams to what Carlos was to Shady.
That's true.
He's just coming in and stealing touchdowns.
This game matters to the Bills.
Oh, you better believe it does.
Oh,
because they win, and they could keep Rex's team, the Jets, out of the playoffs.
Rex's old team, yeah.
There's no possible place that you could try and convince me that Rex Ryan does not want that to happen.
So let me put this in perspective. Gillislee or Artis Payne this week?
Artis Payne. Assuming Jonathan Stewart is out, I think Cameron Artis Payne is a great play.
Because of the Fozzie injury, that stacks him more towards Payne for me.
What about Gillislee or somebody like Christine Michael, who had a really bad week? Nobody could run in Seattle. Now Seattle takes on Arizona.
Gillislee.
Yeah, Gillislee.
What about some of these other names on this waiver list that are going to come up? Like
Rashad Jennings is very interesting. Very, very interesting this week. Like I said, again, the Giants are playing against Philadelphia. Saw David Johnson run for almost 200 yards on them.
Last 3 weeks.
Read the carries.
22 carries, 16 carries, 14 carries.
They're finally giving him the ball. And surprise, surprise, he's producing.
He had 62 through the air last week as well.
I mean, you've gotten rid of that four-headed running back situation, which is I don't understand. I mean, granted, I'm not an NFL coach, but you saw the Giants stink. Their running game has been terrible all year long.
Yeah, how do you get in a flow with your offense when every play, you're the guy that's on the field next to your quarterback is different?
It's like they're getting in a line. It's like run in, okay, run, okay, back to the back of the line. Next.
Well, and it's hard because you also add in the variables of execution. Now 4 players have to execute every play in the playbook the right way every time they go out on the field too. You don't get a rapport, or you don't get a game flow, as Jason's saying,
right,
where a guy can take the ball 3 or 4 times and get into a rhythm on the field. Jennings has been a lot better. He's certainly playing a defense that's ranked 27th against the running back. I like him as a really good option this week.
Yeah,
he could
I do
be
too.
in that streaming category, that starting category.
Yeah, absolutely. Where I think Randle is an okay option. I think Jennings is a pretty good option this week.
Probably my favorite running back signing. I think he's the guy that needs maybe the best free agent signing that's out there because he's still owned in 50 to 60% of leagues right now. So that he's out there in a lot of leagues as an and there's a lot of owners that got burnt with Christine Michael or had been lost Rawls or Ingram and those guys in the playoffs. Here you are in the playoff game and you just need a running back to give you something because you've got all the other pieces. I could have used that this past week. I ran out of a team in a third place game. Julio Jones and Brandon Marshall were my wide receivers.
They did pretty well.
But I had Christine Michael and Cameron Artis Payne as my running backs.
That was not very good.
No. So
did Cameron Artis Payne get a touchdown call back? Is that what happened?
I don't recall.
Because I remember he
wasn't the end of the world in terms of points. But I need a guy like Rashad Jennings that can go out and give me 10. Give me 10 points with those wide receivers, and it makes a huge difference on your team being able to perform.
So you would rather have Rashad Jennings than Cameron Artis Payne?
Yeah,
for this
I
week?
would.
For this week, I think I would. Tampa's not bad against the run. And so I think either guy, I'd be okay starting them. I'd sure like to have, start those 2 guys over the 2 I had last week.
I'd go with Jennings of those 2.
Charles Sims, another Charles Sims type of day. Limited carries, limited catches, but pretty effective. The guy scores fairly often, 3 for 72 through the air. He also had some other names I'm going to throw out there. You guys can talk about him. Pierre Thomas saw a lot of snaps. Travaris Cadet saw some snaps. And Isaiah Crowell.
Yeah, Pierre Thomas to me is a guy that, because the Washington Redskins are going to be sitting players, Pierre Thomas is the guy that's like, okay, well, let's just put him out.
Let him carry the mail.
Yeah, because what happens if he gets hurt? So it's definitely a more risky play. I mean, you just don't know how it's going to go down, but you do know. I mean, look at last week. Last week he got 4 carries for 22, but he got 7 catches. He caught the ball 7 times for 67 yards, and now they're going to be sitting their starters, or a lot of them. I expect Pierre Thomas to be playing, and backup quarterbacks, they like to check the ball down. Pierre Thomas is as good a pass-catching back as there exists. He led the league in receptions last year, I believe, from the running back position, and no wear on the tires this year.
Yeah,
So,
my concern, because initially I was totally with you guys on the Pierre Thomas, and I liked it. My concern is that he's old, and he's 31, and it looked like they have bumped him ahead of Chris Thompson in the pecking order. So would they rather risk Thomas taking an injury this week, or would they maybe want to pull his workload back and give it all to Chris Thompson and see what he can do this week? And so I don't know which guy I stand with. Yet.
And just to be factually correct, Jason, he led the league in receiving from the running back position 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
It was 2013 that he did.
I
Last
knew he
year he
did.
had 45 receptions, but he was 77 in 2013.
Yeah.